Alright boys, welcome back to BBR Week 7. Last week we beat Viz, who had only 5 Pokemon Screamtail pulled in clutch, and we were able to secure a win. This week we're going to be playing Nate 2 and 4 teams, and we actually do have to win at this point to make playoffs. Last week went pretty poorly as far as matches of people that we needed to lose, and now it looks like 3 and 5 is never going to be good enough to make playoffs. So not only do we have to win this week, we have to win next week against T-Row. However, after the transactions and we have Bernardo, I'm very much so anticipating us to win both of these next 2 games on the back of Bernardo. Unfortunately, this week I was not able to get any mocks in. It was an extremely busy week for me, but that does not mean that I don't think that we're going to win this game in very good fashion. Again, please check out Nate and all the other BBR coaches down below. Nate's team is going to be Tornadus, Therian, Infernape, Quaquaval, Ting-Lu, Reuniclus, Empoleon, Florges, Electivire, Arboliva, Dragalge, and Sinasha, Grass and Fairy. Grass and Ghost. No, Fairy and Ghost. It's Fairy and Ghost. As far as Nate's team matches up against ours, we do have a pretty poor Quaquaval matchup. We also have a pretty poor Reuniclus matchup and a pretty poor Sinasha Terra Ghost matchup. Obviously, our Ghost resist is just Chi-Yu, and we learned that last week. Whenever we faced Houndstone, it's very difficult for us to go against those strong Ghost types, and Sinasha is pretty powerful. As far as Pokemon that I do think that he can bring, I think Tornadus is a must-come. I think it's probably going to be a utility Tornadus. We do have a fair amount of Pokemon that outspeed him and good flying resist, so I think it's going to be something like U-Turn, Knockoff, Icy Wind, and Bleak Wind Storm or Hurricane, and he's probably going to be something like Assault Vest to help at least chew a hit from the Chi-Yu and knock off whatever item it might have. Infernape is a Pokemon that I also think guaranteed comes. Physical, special, it doesn't matter. That Pokemon is very good into me. Lando can kind of soft check it, the combination of Lando, Glowking, and Rotom Wash, and he kind of has to pick and choose how he uses it, but I think he could use it as a lead matchup, even a Sash Rocker, rather than a Bandit or Specs, or even Life Orb Breaker. But if he wants to, he could be that Breaker and be very scary and very powerful against the 6 Pokemon that we are bringing. Next up, Quaquaval, the Pokemon that I think does the best in the matchup on Nate's side of the field. We just don't have very good water counterplay. Our water counterplay is going to be Terra Water Bernardo, and obviously Rotom Wash, and other than that, we can get taken advantage of pretty easily because Brambleghast is not good, unfortunately. Ting-Lu should come. It's a great Dragapult answer. We can U-turn on it, but we don't have great answers to that Pokemon. It's kind of just Bernardo, and obviously we can go into Scizor as well, and Screamtail can do it a little bit, but it doesn't really do damage to it, so I think Ting-Lu makes a lot of sense to try to get hazards up into our team. Reuniclus is a Pokemon that I also think is gonna come, whether he's just Trick Room, OTR, is that what it's called, with Life Orb, and he's just 3 attacks, Focus Blast, Psychic, and Shadow Ball, or whatever the case may be. I think that makes a lot of sense. He could also abuse Ting-Lu under Trick Room, and I think that would go great if he's like an offensive Ting-Lu. Maybe he's like spikes 3 attacks. I think that does really good into us. And then lastly, I'm just gonna name all 6 of the top Pokemon. I think Empoleon comes. It deters me from leading Landorus now that it has competitive. It can get rocks up pretty reliably if he doesn't want to be rocks on Infernape or Ting-Lu, and its dual stabs are honestly pretty good into our team. If he does bring a Pokemon that is not top 6, in my opinion, it's gonna be Sinasha. Sinasha with Terra Ghost does very well into me, but I think those 7 Pokemon are easily the best 7 in this matchup, and he can very much so build a team that can probably win against us with those 7 Pokemon. Florges could come, but it's setup fodder for a lot of different Pokemon, and we can take advantage of it very easily. Electivire I don't think comes. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. Our Lando is weak to Ice Punch, and obviously that's going to be our best resist, but generally speaking, we're not really weak to Electric, so I don't really see it coming, but if it does, then hey, he can definitely take advantage of the 6 that we're bringing. Arboliva is not coming. And then Dragalge. Dragalge could certainly come. I think if there is an 8th Pokemon, it's either Florges or Dragalge, but we have Glowking, which pretty much invalidates Dragalge always, and we have a lot of great offensive threats to pressure that with Dragapult, Landorus, even Chi-Yu can push past it. It would force it to be AV, and it doesn't really want to be AV. I don't really see it coming, but I wouldn't be the most surprised man in the world if it does come. As far as the team that we're bringing, we have to win, like I said, to make playoffs, so we're going to go with a John Jr. special. I think our team can outbulk Nate's team pretty easily. He does have good breakers, but we do have ways around it. So we're going to go with a very bulky offensive team to try to take advantage of the 6 Pokemon that I think he's going to bring, and to really hard call those 6 Pokemon. The first Pokemon is going to be Bernardo. Once again, we're going to be another bulk up set. This Pokemon does crazy in this matchup. We can bulk up in the face of physical Infernape, of Quaquaval. We have Taunt for something like the Ting-Lu so it can't Whirlwind us. Drain Punch does fantastic, and then Flare Blitz hits the things that Drain Punch doesn't in both Reuniclus and Tornadus. We're also Terra Water, that way we can actually take advantage of the Quaquaval Vol. Close combat from both Quaquaval Vol and Infernape before we get boosted up is certainly going to hurt. But this set is here just to be a nuisance. It's not necessarily our win con, but if we place it and position it correctly, Bernardo can certainly win the game. We're 8 HP, 76 attack adamant, 96 defense, 232 special defense, and 96 speed. Bernardo can outspeed the Florges. We can take 2 max special attack Tornadus Bleak Wind Storms. We take 2 Quaquaval close combats if we do get up to the +1. And then we went the rest into attack adamant. There are lots of situations where I think Bernardo can really take advantage of a lot of different Pokemon that I think Nate can bring. I think specifically Tinglu and Empoleon are Pokemon that we are going to try to target to really take advantage of. But a more defensive, but a non-offensive Infernape, or even an offensive Infernape once we get a bulk up off, and an offensive Quaquaval once we get a bulk up off, are 2 Pokemon that I am looking to take advantage of. Taunt Tornadus can definitely put a damper in this Pokemon specifically, and obviously Reuniclus is going to be a little bit difficult to deal with, and we're probably going to want to get our Tera off as soon as possible, so we actually have some way to switch into the Quaquaval. But overall, this Bernardo does fantastic, and I expect it to do very well in this matchup. Next up, we've got Phantasmo Dragapult. I'm gonna be honest, dude is on fraud watch. He has not really impressed me this season, other than week 1 where he destroyed in concept. He's been kind of lackluster, but this week I hope to change that with a cool sub protect disable hex set. I don't respect Arboliva. I don't think it's a real Pokemon in this matchup, so I am going to fully go in with just Hex. Protect is going to be for leftovers, and another little trick we got up our sleeve I'll talk about later. Sub is going to take advantage of fat Pokemon that want to sit in front of us. Disable, we're going to protect on Pokemon that only have 1 coverage move to hit us, like Quaquaval or Florges, and we'll disable that 1 move that they do have to hit us. And then Hex, because it's just fantastic in this matchup, and we might be bringing T-Spikes. Obviously going to be leftovers with this set: 32 HP, 68 defense, 80 special attack, 240 special defense, and 88 speed timid. This lets us outspeed the Tornadus Therian. A neutral base 90 move like Psychic from the Florges cannot break our sub, and that's important because we can disable Moonblast, and that might be the only coverage move he has, and we'll be able to get a sub up for free, get leftovers recovery, fire off some free hexes. We live a Life Orb, Adamant, Quaquaval, Ice Spinner, and then we went the rest into special attack. I didn't really see a need for Clear Body, and obviously Cursed Body isn't going to be the most useful when we're disabled, so I thought, hey, if this dude got a sub up on something, maybe we can just go through it. I don't really think any of Dragapult's abilities were going to come into play here, and maybe there's something I'm forgetting very blatantly so, but maybe I'll get Psychic Spadef drop from the Florges or something, who knows. But I think Infiltrator was the best of the 3 in this matchup. I guess I could have went Clear Body for like Icy Wind speed drops, because I do think he's going to be Icy Wind on Torn, but how often that comes into play, I don't really know. This Pokemon is going to be here primarily to be a disruptor, to catch him off guard, disable these Pokemon that will only probably have 1 coverage move for me, and then just do a ton of damage with Hex. Next up, we're bringing another fat Landorus. I don't think we've brought a very offensive Landorus yet this season. We're going to be lead if there is no Empoleon. If there is Empoleon, we're going to lead a Pokemon we'll talk about a little bit later, and this is going to be here for the Tinglu lead. I do think that's very, very likely. If he does bring that, obviously we want to taunt it. We want to prevent hazards early, because so far we've been leftovers on all 3 of our Pokemon. We're Taunt, we're Rocks, we're U-Turn, we're Earthquake. We are the standard Gen 8 OU Lando set, except replace Taunt with Knockoff, right? He doesn't have great removal. I want to take advantage of that. Rocks could be very, very crucial for something like the Infernape or the Tornadus if it is AV and not Boots. And we can also find out if the Reuniclus is going to be Magic Guard, or that we can get Chip on the Sinastcha as it comes in. Rocks pressures a lot of things on his team and puts things in range of like Dragapult or Bernardo, and I think it's very crucial. U-Turn's just going to be for momentum. Earthquake hits pretty much everything on his team except for the Sinastcha and the Tornadus, which we can just U-turn on and go into our respective switch-ins. We're going to be 96 HP, 36 attack, 124 defense impish, and max special defense. This lets us live a Life Orb Tornadus Icy Wind after Rocks, which is just because I think if he is Tornadus, if he's like lead Tornadus, Life Orb is definitely a possibility, and he could Icy Wind and try to OHKO us, and we're able to live that. I don't think he'll be Specs. I think Life Orb is the most that he would go. We can live 2 Banded Flare Blitz from the Infernape after an Intimidate, and then we went the remaining 36 into attack. Lando, primarily a lead, but it's also going to be here to alleviate pressure specifically off of the Infernape, but also intimidate Shuffle on something like the Quackle Vol. If we don't want him to get a Moxie boost, we can intimidate him, and after he kills us, he'll be back at essentially what he was. Or if he clicks the wrong move, we can intimidate him, pivot out, intimidate him again, and then we actually profit. This also helps break something like the Electivire or the Dragalge if those are brought. Again, I'm not super confident that either of them are brought, and this also helps us break the Empoleon, even though it gets competitive, and I do think if it's brought, it's going to be competitive Shuka. Once we find that out, we can break through that Pokemon. Our fourth Pokemon was a pretty no-brainer bring, in my opinion. We're going to be Scarf Rotom Wash. This is because it outspeeds the Quackle Vol at +1. We're able to revenge it pretty easily with this, and after an Aqua Step, obviously, we can hard switch this into an Aqua Step or hard switch this into a close combat. We can live it as long as he's not banded, and we can actually revenge kill that Pokemon. Not only that, but it helps with the Infernape and the Tornadus and the whole Pokemon, right? The whole team. We're going to be Trick in case he does want to go into that Team Lu on us. I don't really anticipate clicking Trick because I do think our Scarf is extremely valuable to not lose to Quackle Vol. And then we're just Volt, Hydro, and Thunderbolt. 64 HP, 196 special attack, and the rest in speed timid. This lets us outspeed the Quackle Vol with our Scarf even if he's at +1. And then we win enough HP to not die to an adamant close combat after rocks, and we went the rest into special attack. This Pokemon's pretty self-explanatory. It's a revenge killer specifically for Quackle Vol, and a Pokemon that we shouldn't be scared to send in on that Quackle Vol. Next up, the glue of our team, the thing that ties our entire team together, we're going to be Galarian Slowking. I'm not super confident about the set, and this is one of the sets that I do wish I was able to actually mock for on top of the last Pokemon that we're going to talk about. But I do think T-Spikes do fantastic in this matchup, and we're going to try to abuse that. You see that our entire team is kind of built around being very fat, living hits, and kind of punishing our opponent for switching around, and this is going to be no different. We're slack off for recovery T-Spikes because I really don't think Dragalge comes, and even if it does, this is going to be our switch into Dragalge. And then I felt like we needed dual stabs, so we're going to be Psychic because it does generally good in the matchup, and then Acid Spray to take advantage of Pokemon that might want to switch in, take advantage of something like the Tornadus, or if the Team Lu wants to switch in, we can punish that Pokemon. We're going to be 248 HP, 172 defense, 56 special attack, 32 special defense Sassy with 0 speed IVs. This is to speed tie a Trick Room Reuniclus, where we can punish it by spamming Acid Spray. Eventually, we will be able to OHKO it or revenge it with the Dragapult. Even if he's Calm Mind, we'll be able to obviously gain net -1 special defense at the end of every turn. And I had a really hard time coming up with these 4 moves. The combination of Team Lu plus Reuniclus made it very hard for me to select a last move, so I thought Acid Spray was like the best neutral middle ground to kind of cover both of them. If we do see Empoleon, this is probably going to be our lead, but I'm a little skeptical because if we see Empoleon and Team Lu, my hands are tied. We can take 2 Flare Blitz from the non-boosting Infernape. We can OHKO Infernape with Psychic, and then we went the rest in special attack with a sassy nature. T-Spikes are crucial for this game. I'm going to be honest, we kind of got to get T-Spikes up, and I do think that we can do that against several different Pokemon. We are also going to be Boots on this Pokemon as to not be punished by Hazards, which will inevitably get up against us at some point. We do have quite a few Taunters, but I do think still very realistic that Hazards get up against us. And then lastly, we needed a switch into Sinosha, who knows, right? Who knows? We needed a switch in, and we only have 1 Ghost Resist on our team, so we are actually probably bringing our 6 best Pokemon on paper. We're bringing Yummy the Chi-Yu. This dude has kind of been disappointing since week 1, and I don't know if this week is going to be any different because I'm purposefully bringing a very defensive Chi-Yu. I say very defensive, we're modest with 164 special attack and 104 HP and then pretty much max speed in order to outspeed the Quackle Vol. The HP allows us to live hits from the Sinosha, but we're going to be dual screens, and this is to kind of offset the fact that sometimes his offense can get out of hand. Specifically, the Quackle Vol that might want to switch into us, or the Infernape that might want to switch into us, can definitely get out of hand. So being able to set up Reflect and Light Screen helps punish those. Light Screen helps punish the Sinosha that may want to switch in. We're Plot Fire Blast because he doesn't have really any good Fire Blast resist on his entire team, and if we get behind a screen, we can take advantage of both Quackle Vol and Infernape, or if one or both of those Pokemon are gone, this Pokemon can actually start punishing his fat. A +2 Fire Blast from this to Ting Lu does like 70%, which is insane, like a spadef Ting Lu. So this is here, again, it lives 2 Specs hits from Modest Terra Ghost Sinosha. It's really the only thing on our team that's able to do that, but obviously, if he's Terra Ghost, he's going to be very slow and outsped by actually most of our team. Other than that, Chiyu does pretty poor in the matchup, but we're going to try to get those screens up and try to punish his team, his very offensive team, as best as we can. That is going to be the team, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very fat team, a team that I should be pretty comfortable with playing. Again, I did not get any mocks for this week, but I think it's okay. I do think it's okay. The one set I'm iffy about is going to be Galarian Slowking. I do think with this specific build, Reuniclus can get kind of out of hand if it is brought. And obviously, I am definitely underprepared for Dragalge 100% of the time. If that thing comes, I kind of hard called it not coming, so we'll be in a little bit of a tough spot. Again, if we see Empoleon, we probably can't lead Lando, but we might, and we might just go hard Rotom, but I really don't like that. I don't know. I gotta think about it. The whole point of the team is to get T-Spikes up and punish his team as best as we can. Thank you guys so much for watching. Shout out to all my channel members and everybody who supports us throughout this entire season. We're going to try to make a playoff push here. We need 2 more wins to have a chance to do so. So I'm going to try to do that today for you guys. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching. And for now, guys, this has been John Jr. signing off.